may already guess by hearing that very familiar tune of "We Gather Together to Ask the Lord's Blessing" that we are really preparing for Thanksgiving here at St. John's. This Sunday, the Sunday before Thanksgiving, we will be using Thanksgiving propers, and we will be singing the great Thanksgiving hymns, including "Now Thank We All Our God," and "We Plow the Fields and Scatter." And it's, of course, very appropriate that we think about our time of Thanksgiving here as we transition from the long green season into Advent and Christmas. Also, as we're in this month where we're thinking about our stewardship and our pledge campaign. And of course, one of the things that we are most thankful for that ties right into that idea of stewardship is the church that we have, the church building that we have. St. John's has been a thriving congregation here in Knoxville since the mid-19th century, but our cathedral building, which of course was built as a church, was opened in 1892, 130 years ago. And thanks to Sid Hankins and the history team that has been going through our archives and collecting historical documents, we recently found out that the first public gathering, the first event that happened in the walls of what we now think of as St. John's Cathedral happened on November 20th of 1892, exactly 130 years before this Sunday. And we thought that it would be interesting to try to have a nod towards that as we give thanks for all of the saints' lives who have worshiped and have worked here at St. John's. There's a delightful article that was sort of a review, a critical review of the event that appeared in the newspaper the following day. And that article is going to be reproduced on our service sheets this weekend, so you'll have a chance to read that. It does go into some very whimsical detail about all of what that evening was. Interestingly enough, this first gathering was a sacred concert. It wasn't even a church service. The first event that happened in the building was a concert. And it goes into some pretty whimsical detail about who performed and how they sounded. Unfortunately, it doesn't give us very much useful information about what they actually sang. There are a lot of generic titles like Gloria in Excelsis and Stabat Mater and Salve Regina, but of course we have no idea whose settings those are, who the composer of those pieces are. The piece that ended the program, though, is by a composer who's kind of fallen out of fashion but was very popular in the 19th century, Dudley Buck. And thanks to the wonders of the internet, with just a little bit of searching around, we were able to find this piece. And it's very much of the time. It's a little dated to our ears, and yet it's really a lot of fun. And so the choir has spent the last couple of weeks learning this piece. It has the amazing title. The author of the article doesn't even attempt the title. He just calls it by the first line of text, "The Strain Upraised, the Strain of Joy and Praise." The actual title is the Alleluiatic Sequence, which took a lot of practice to be able to say that. That's not a word that rolls off the tongue very easily. And like I say, it really sounds very much like something that would have been written in the 1880s or 1890s. And it's not exactly the kind of music that we do now, and yet it's a lot of fun. It's a really enjoyable piece. It comes out of that tradition of the Anglican verse anthem. So there will be these short little statements by the full choir, and then a soloist, and then another statement by the choir, and they alternate with these solos. So even though it's a very short piece, it has a lot of variety in it. But all through it, it has sort of this trumpet fanfare kind of feel to it. The opening measures sound a bit like this. And then lots of, like I say, kind of heraldic flourishes that happen from time to time. At the beginning of the service, the only other piece of music that was identifiable was that Frank Nelson, 3 years before he started his tenure here, a tenure which lasted 50 years, but 3 years before he began his employment at St. John's, he appeared on this concert of 1892, and one of the things he did an improvisation, but then he also played a work by, a transcription by Wagner, and it's a melody that I think several of you will recognize. This is the Pilgrim's Choir from Tannhäuser. So that piece will also serve as the prelude to the service. So we have lots of great Thanksgiving and reasons to give thanks this coming weekend here at St. John's. We invite you to join us either online, on our YouTube channel, on local cable television, or certainly here in person.